part three for Wernyi. I didn't make as fast progress as I wished to hope because I was getting busy with other things. So this was the top view of a model in my last presentation. That's the status of where we starting from right now. In this part, we do the mast and rigging at least to some part. I still have to finish the lifeboats. You see a picture of the building instruction on the left. There was a laser cut wood set that I bought with wooden parts for the boat. I painted them irregular brown to get more of that kind of used feeling of a real boat, basically. Main question here becomes paper modeling. Is this really paper modeling now or not? Because now we're going in a stage, at least in this particular model, where there is no paper or almost no paper used. Traditionally, in German and Dutch paper model kits, you would have to make things from paper. They wouldn't do additional parts. But East European kits have always incorporated things like wire and wood and in simple instruction, and it's much more difficult to make them. This part of this build would be perfect for a wood builder. I mean, you are all very familiar with all the elements and how you call all these parts for sails and railing, and which as a paper model, you really don't have much clue. The scale is also an important consideration here to make an identical or realistic object. This is a scale of 1/100. That means certain details cannot be recognized in the distance. And there are certain parts that you usually would use in your build, like deadeyes and other things, cannot be used because it's impossible to use them for rigging and have that detail because of the size, which I will show you later. This is basically really the extent of instruction. So there's not much, basically. There's three masts, basically, and you see some of the rigging. There's not much more instructions, so a lot of things are unclear, and you have to figure out how to start. There's a template, as you can see here, to make the mast pieces. It gives you the dimension. And also you can see where it's supposed to paint it, which pieces are painted black or partly black and white. But that's all what it is. I bought the mast set with it, but there was a serious problem. Half of the masts were missing or had different sizes, so it was a big mess up. I had a stack of masts that I had from other model kits, which I have here in this box. And that's the thread. I use standard thread, not familiar with what else to use. So I picked pieces and then usually cut end and top off to find actually one that fits the template, because I'm not equipped to make masts myself. The top trestles, etc., are paper parts in the model. I made the mistake first to use them and actually build them. But as soon as I start rigging, the tops bend, as you can imagine. If you want to have a realistic look, there has to be some tension on it. As soon as you do that, this thing is going haywire. So I did use the templates and did laser cut wood parts. As you can see here, there's the tops and there's the trestle parts and some other materials that you need. I again glued everything with, I usually use wood glue and then super glue, because with super glue alone, first you don't get the adhesion. You have to hold it too long, and if you use first some wood glue, it gives you some stickiness, and then I use the super glue to finish it up. There's a photo etch part, basically, that's supposed to, as you can see, replace deadeyes and other things based on the size that you can actually do rigging, which is not necessarily what you would expect. Fortunately, the same thing happened here again. Amount of parts in the set here was totally insufficient, was maybe half of it. So I had to stop the build and order some more from Germany. When you use this photo etch parts, you first, because they contain usually a little oil film, You should clean them with alcohol or isopropanol. So you get some stickiness of the primer. After the primer, then I paint them so they're ready to use. Here you see the parts of the mast now, the trestle tree and then the top. And you see the photo edge part that kind of representing, so to speak, what it might look like with a ship of model of that scale, because you will not see the detail from a distance so much. I want to take a little detour here because something that's on my mind often, and I would in the future probably try to investigate a little bit more about scale modeling. This is to do with scale. Scale is for me really only a representation. So the question always becomes, I mean, the common approach that most people use is, I would call physicalism or materialism. So you're trying to build the model as exact to the material physical appearance of the ship itself. Problem with this is when you look at the ship, and that's why I have here the human eye, from a certain distance, and that's kind of reflecting the scales, how much distance you have to the view of the object, then you will see in certain details and certain not. Certain doesn't make sense and certain, and I call this a representationalism. I think to develop model design based on this approach would get more realistic models. I mean, you never see physical the object itself, you see a representation in your eye. So what gives you the most realistic picture based on the scale is kind of defining it and how many details you put in from that scale and from what angle or distance you're looking. Obviously, this is all a little bit premature, but that's something I want to explore in detail. And I was kind of pushing this in here, maybe get some ideas from you all. So starting with the standing rigging, here there's three elements. There's a cardboard strip. You see them still on the bottom end. Is a little bit, it's not white, but grayish. When you have a photo edge part, and then the yarn you saw before. So I usually just make a knot, put wood glue, then super glue, and then tie them up on top of the mast, basically. So this how the rigging is attached to the hull. Making the shrouds. Here's the first mast installed. I attached pointed wood glue, like on each line, and then just put the yarn across and let it dry. And then I later cut off the ends. Rigging to the tops. You see the first rating that's ending up in the top. I glued again all lines together with super glue and then cut the excess basically. That's the rigging to the trestle. The application here is the same as below for the rigging of the tops and the lower mast sections. That's 3 masts installed now, but the rigging is incomplete. I need to catch up as I finally received the missing photo edge pieces, which didn't allow me to continue because the standing rigging is obviously not done for the other 2 masts, basically. The bowsprit I was able to do, again, have different wood pieces put together and then painted. There's another view of where we are right now. So I'm going to continue. That's it.